Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Or so we have a bit of a stira here between the Bryce and the Mishnah. And it seems like, on the one hand, the Kazayis and Ketores, you're chayiv on it. Kazayis and Ketores outside of the Beis you're potter, according to Ariel. Which one is it? So yesterday we saw a Gevaldik Teretz, that there's an afkamina between what Ketores we're talking about. There's two types of Ketores. There's Ketores that you do me a favor, you're over there now. Get me the Mizbeach HaZav. There's the Ketores that we do on the Mizbeach HaZav every single day, twice, inside the Heichal. The Heichal we're going to call today Chutz, because compared to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's outside. And then the other time is once a year, on Yom Kippur, Achas, no, not Achas, but here it is. He takes 2 handfuls, we're going to talk about that. That's the shear, 2 handfuls, we'll see if that's the shear. And he puts the 2 handfuls, Meloi Chafnav, and he's maktik Ketores lefnai v'lefnim. So says Rabba, Bak Torah the Heichal, the Kuliyam Eloi Pligi. In the Brisa, everybody agrees that what 1 kezayis is enough. Ki Pligi Bak Torah the Pnim. Where's the machlokes? If a kezayis is not enough, when he does the Torah, on Yom Kippur in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Mar Sovar Meloi Chafnav Dafka. This that it says in the Torah Meloi Chafnav, it means literally Meloi Chafnav, and you shouldn't veer from it, even 1 iota. And anything less than that, even a kazayis, is not enough. Umar Sovar Meloi Chafnav Lav Dafka. Torah says, fill up your you want a kazayis is also good enough. Omar Leah Bayo Vok Kiksiva Chuka. It says the word chukah, we all know Zois chukah is a Torah by Paraduma. What does chukah mean to us? Chukah means this is it, and that you can't veer from it. So if the Torah says Meloi Chafnav and the Torah says chukah, all in the parsha of Yom Kippur, in the Aktara of Pnim inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, then it has to be Meloi Chafnav. I disagree with you. Elo Amar Abaya, Abaya comes with his own teretz here. So here Rabbi says machlokes in Kodesh HaKadoshim if you need Meloi Chafnav. Comes Abai says no. This is Gevaldik. What's the shear of Ketores on a daily basis on this Mizbeach? What's the shear we just said? Kezayis. And now the shear, even though the Torah says Meloi Chafnav, and that is the shear. I'm going to tell you that's the shear. Says Abai, why? I know it's the shear on Yom Kippur. Why? Because it says Chukah. It's a different shear. But listen to this. Since on a daily basis the shear is a kazayis, so on Yom Kippur, and what happens on a daily basis if I take that kazayis and bring it outside of the Beis HaMikdash, I'm chayiv, because that's the shear. The shear on a daily basis is a kazayis. You hear, Mendy? It looks like I'm losing you already. The shear of a daily Ketores is a kazayis, and if I bring that outside, we're talking about outside and inside the Beis HaMikdash. If I bring it outside of the Beis HaMikdash, 1 kezayis, I'm over. Less than a kezayis, not over. So to a Yom Kippur, if I bring out 1 kezayis, even though my shear is much larger, I have to bring in Meloi Chafnav, but to bring outside of the Beis HaMikdash, the shear is the same. It's a kezayis. Here, Yoshi did something like this. If this helps us, during the weekdays, during the year, all 364 days of the year besides Yom Kippur, a kezayis. On Yom Kippur, it's Meloi Chafnav. So what happens is, on Yom Kippur, he took a kezayis worth of Meloi Chafnav. From the Meloi Chafnav, he took a kezayis and brought that outside. On the weekday, a kezayis, you're over. The question is, machlokes, if a kezayis on Yom Kippur, you're also over. That's the whole thing. Let me ask you a question. So what happens if you take out water? We spoke about yayin, water, pouring, doing on Sukkos. Take the water outside of the Beis and pour it. So maybe the shear should be a kezayis also. Look, just like the Torahs on a weekday is a kezayis, and we're learning that same shear to Yom Kippur, even though the real shear of Torahs is a Meloi Chafnav, it's a kezayis. So maybe water also. So the Gemara is going to discuss that. We said, Elomar bayo. So what is the machlokes? Baktara bifnim kulam aloi pligi. Everybody agrees. I'm telling you, it's a pasuk that you have to have maloi chafnav in the Kodesh HaKadoshim Yom Kippur. Ki pligi baktara the chutz. If you take that ketores and bring it outside, how much is the shear? I learned the Kodesh HaKadoshim Yom Kippur from a regular vachadik ketores, a weekday ketores, a daily ketores of a kazayis. What connection does Yom Kippur have to do with the regular ketores? Yom Kippur, the shear to take it outside is the same shear you need for the inside, and that is malei chafna. Omer Rava, hashta chutz michutz leyal for rabbanon. If I can't learn outside from outside, how am I going to learn the Kodesh HaKadoshim from the Heichal? What is he talking about? The Sanya Yochel Amala Pachas Mekazayis Koimet so Pachas Mekazayis Emurim. I would think that if you bring outside of the Beis Hamikdash less than the shear, in other words, less than a Kazayis of a Mincha, less than a Kazayis of Emurim, V'amen Nasech Pachas Mishloishes Lugim Yain. Here's the key word. Less than 3 lug of wine, less than 3 lug of water. Yechayav. I would think that you should be chayav. Tamaloymer la'asos. Al shol chayav ben chayav al chazer. You're not chayav on less than a shear of a kazayas. But the point is that last thing that it says there's 3 lug of water. But a little less than 3 lug of water. But we all know that 3 lug of water, whatever it is, let's call it 3 liters. There's at least 1 kazayis in there, a lot more than a kazayis. How come in that case we don't say, oh, he brought a kazayis of water like this? Wow, it's loud. I don't know why it's loud. Here we go. Here's just like the kazayis of Ketores. If you took 1 kazayis of water and you poured it outside the Beis Hamikdash, you should be chayiv. But yet we know that's not true. Anything less than 3 lugim, you're not chayiv. Actually, just close the door, please.
Sorry.
So he says, oh, nupshat. And Rava says, no. Kigoin the kavinu elo amarava. Sorry. Is it a question? Yeah, you said already the question. Elo amarava kigoin the kavinu shnei chatzoi pras. Says Rava, there's no difference between the Mishnah and the Brisa. They're both talking about the Heichal, the regular weekday ketores. Just what? We said how much is the shear on the weekday? A kazayis. But over here what happened was kigoin the kavinu shnei chatzoi pras b'mana. He went and he took the shear, whatever he's going to do that day, and he put it into Kli Sharis. Mar Sabar Kvius Mana Milsehi. So, there's a machlokes whether once you put the Ketores in a vessel, does it lock it in? Mar Sabar Lav Milsehi. But say no. It doesn't do anything. The shear is a Kazayis, it remains a Kazayis. Rebbe says no. You put it in a Kli, so it's that's the shear. So now you have to, until you take everything out of that kli and bring it outside, you're not chayiv. Why? Because now I just made a new shear. Yes, you're right. B'di'evet, if you bring a kazayis and put it on the mizbech, haktoiris, you yaitza. But once I take the 2 pras, the 2F pras, and I put it in a kli, the kli makes it kadosh, and that's your shear for today. So let's say you put some of it inside, but as long as you took whatever's remaining and put it outside, then you're over. Anything less, you're not over. Omerava, hashta. Now that we established this, Laman Domer Kvius the Manav Klumu, we had a machlokes. Does the kli establish something or not? According to Rebbe Lezer, it establishes. Rebbe Lezer establishes. According to Chachamim, not. So according to Chachamim, the Kvius Manav Klumu doesn't do anything. Chava Shisha. So there's certain karbanas, like a Ariel and a Shlamim, they have to bring wine with the karbanas. How much wine? So it depends how large the animal is. If it's a giant animal, like a bull, you have to bring 6 lug. If it's a medium animal, like a ram, so you bring 4. If it's a small sheep, you bring 3. So he says like this, Kvias mon is nothing. So if you put aside 6, it didn't, and you took 4 out of the 6, you'd be chayav. Why? Because kvias mana is nothing. If kvias mana is something that the kli makes it established, so now you have to bring all 6 outside. But over here, 4 is enough. Why is 4 enough? Shirui and Lyle, because 4 is good enough for another animal called a ram. Let's say he put 4 lugim aside in a klishai, and he pulled 3 outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Chayav, why? Shurim lekeves, because they're good for a lamb. Chazar kolshu, if it's a little less than 3, vikrim b'chutz potter. Why? Because there's no carbon that takes less than 3 lugim. So if you have less than the shear, you bring it outside, you're potter because it's not the shear. Now, not a kasha. You're just saying a pshat. Now, going back to the Geshmaka Vard. What? Yeah, it's like anything without a shear. We said a K'taris without a Kazayas, a Mincha without a Kazayas, the Shloishes Lugim we even mentioned before that are less than a Shloishes Lugim. So Abaya's teretz was that we're talking about Yom Kippur, and we have a Machloikis if a person takes less than the shear of Melech Chofnaim on Yom Kippur and brings it outside, whether or not he's chayav. Why? Because the shear during the year is a kazayis, so maybe that shear should also go into Yom Kippur. So what did they ask him? Rav asks him, so if so, let's jump to something else called water. According to Reb Laz, it's only on Sukkot. The water, the Nisach HaMayim, 1 kazayis is enough to bring outside and be over. Why? Because the Ketayris is a kazayis, so to the water is a kazayis. So Rav Ashi Omar, no, what's the connection? It's not a good kasha. You're asking me water from Ketayris. Rav Ashi Omar, Nisach Maktar Li'al Rabbanan. No, we're talking about Ketayris and Ketayris. I'm comparing the Ketayris of the weekday that we do this on every day, which the shear of taking outside is kazayis, to the Ketayris on Yom Kippur, which is now you made a real jump. You went all the way to water on Sukkot. What's the connection? Even though you're right, both outside, but it makes a lot of sense to learn Ketayris from Ketayris. Even though one is the Heichal and one is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. We learned in the Mishnah of Kulon Shechasru, that's mamish this halacha, that if you have less than the shear, you're potter, you boilu. Simple question. What happens if let's say you bring Ketayris outside of the Beis Hamikdash? It was the shear. You have a kazayis Ketayris, all of a sudden a wind comes, poof, blows it away, a fire consumes it, now you have a half a kazayis. But when you stepped out of the Beis Hamikdash, you had a full kazayis. Is that considered that it's missing, and therefore you're not chayiv, or it's not missing, so you're chayiv? Listen, the moment you step out of the Beis Hamikdash, it's possible anyways. But just bringing it outside of the Beis Hamikdash, it becomes possible. Mali chasar, mali yasser, so who cares what the shear is? It's already possible. You're dealing with something that's possible, so it's possible that has a shear. Possible. I never heard that there's such a thing called a shear in something that's possible. No. It has to be something. You can't say, it doesn't need a shear. Even one little gargir. How do you say gargir in English? A grain. 1 grain of Ketayris. You'd be chayiv for something like that? No way. Fine. Omer Abai Toshma. I'll keep proving to you. Rebbe Lazar, this is a classic. Rebbe Lazar Poiter Achi Yaakov is Kulon. Rebbe Lazar says you're not chayiv until you bring the last part of whatever you're bringing. The last part of the Ketayris. The last part of the Mincha. So you see over here that if you're missing any of it, you're potter. No, so it says Mefurish, even if it's outside. So it says Gemara, were you trying to bring a rye from Lazar? No. No, I'm not trying to bring a rye from Lazar, because okay, you're right, it's Reb Lazar. I'm trying to bring a rye according to Chacham. Yes, even according to Chacham. Why? I heard Mefurish from Rav. The machlokes between Rabbanan and Reb Lazar is because it's here in front of us. Everybody agrees that if something's missing, you potter. That's what he's saying. That Reb Lazar says that if you don't have the whole thing, it's potter. Because even Chachamim are moided that if it's missing right now, it's not in front of us, potter. And the Gemara wants to say, Lav the Chotz B'chutz. Where did it become missing? L'chayr, outside of the Beis Hamikdash. Classic. Loi. The Chotz B'fnim, not a good raya. I can't force the raya because maybe it went missing inside the Beis Hamikdash. My question is, what happens if part of the shear of a kazayis went missing outside the Beis Hamikdash? Tashma, v'kulan shechasr v'krivim b'chutz potter. So once again, same question, same answer. It says if it's missing outside, potter. So l'chayra over here, it's even more refurbished. It says it's missing outside. Lav the chazar b'chutz, l'chayra, it became missing outside. You started off good and it became missing. Loi, the chazar b'fnim, it was already chazar inside the Beis HaMikdash. Hamakiv kachim. Oh, so it says that if you have kachim, look at the last line in the Mishnah, hamakiv kachim ve'imurim b'chutz chayav. Oh, I want to check if I said it in English. I said it in the Hebrew, but I don't know if I said it in English. He's a chayav on the imurim part. You're chayav for the imurim coming out. You have kachim and imurim. So that's Gemara says, part of this meat is regular meat that you're supposed to eat as a steak, and part of it is imurim. The imurim are not touching the mizbeach, so you have a problem with chatzitza. The imurim have to touch the mizbeach. Omer Shmuel b'shafachim. You're right. He's making a barbecue and he flipped it. Rabbi Yochanan afilu teimel shelo yafach. You don't have to flip it. V'amari Reb Shimoni the afilu hela sel chayav. Reb Shimon says you don't need a mizbeach. You don't need a mizbeach outside of Beis HaMikdash. You can put it on a stone. You could have it in midair. So there's no touching a mizbeach. There's no touching and flipping. It's simply being makriv it outside of the Beis HaMikdash. That's what you're chayav for. Rav Omar min b'minoi einoi chaytzitz. Rav says that it's both part of the same animal. So this is a murim, this is meat. It can't make a chatzitza with it when it's the same item. Mincha shalei nikmitzo. Says the Mishnah. Mincha shalei nikmitzo v'kriva b'chutz potter. You have a mincha that you didn't take the kmitza. You didn't stick, the kohen didn't stick his hand in and take the 3 fingers worth of flour. So a mincha like that, you can't put on a mizbeach. V'kriva b'chutz, and you took this mincha and you put it outside on the mizbeach outside, potter. Why you potter? Because it doesn't have the kmitza. It's not a good mincha. What if you did take a kmitza and there was a leak in your house and you needed that vessel, so you put the kmitza right back? What do you do with the kmitza? There's a big bowl. You take the kmitza out, you put it in a small bowl. The kmitza went back into the bowl. Now, over here, you shouldn't really bring it on the mizbeach, but if you did, the guy that brought the mincha is yotzi dei chayva. So if it's yotzi dei chayva, you bring that same exact item outside, chayav, you're chayav. Ask the Gemara of Amai. Now, if we go back to this picture, okay, so you took the small bowl and put it in the large bowl. The large bowl is the roiv. So it should become batal b'roiv. So it's as if you're putting to the shirayim. Whatever's left in the bowl is mutter to bring outside. You're allowed to be makriv that. Or whatever, burn it on a mizbeach. It's not a hakrava. The large bowl should be mevatel, the small bowl, b'roiv. You're right. Theoretically, lahalacha, the small becomes batal in the large, and we're going to view it as shirayim of a mincha, not as the kmitza that you're over on. We have a problem though. There's a pasuk. It's Gzer Shava. Nemer aktor b'koimitz v'nemer aktor b'shirayim. Ma aktor es koimitz and koimitz mevatel chaveroi. Af aktor shirayim ein shirayim mevatel koimitz. Okay, so we have a concept that if somebody brings, there's a guy with a giant shack, a giant hand brings a kmitza. It's like 4 pounds worth of kmitza, and a little guy brings a kmitza. So the small one and the large one is batal. No, it's not batal. It's halacha, they don't become batal to one another. Yeah, I hear. For whatever it is, he's yotzi dei chayva. You don't say, oh, the little guy's kmitza, it goes 5. It's part of the larger guys. Avakdar shirayim and shirayim mevatim koimitz. So too, the shirayim, the large bowl, is not mevatel the kmitza. Hakoyim malavoino. So now we know when you do a regular mincha, you bring a mincha, so you have to take a kmitza. You know what? Let's show it. Why not? We saw it yesterday. Show it again, just because it's very important to remember. Oh, what's this? This is the new one. I want to show the levina part. Levina. Oh, here's the levina. That's the levina. Okay. Now the levina you have to put onto the mizbeach, and the kmitza you have to put on the mizbeach. So there's really 2 things you have to put on the mizbeach. In order for a person to eat the leftover mincha, you have to put 2 things on the mizbeach. What are they called? That's 2 matirim. When we throw the blood of the carbon on the mizbeach, that's 1 matir. That blood allows you to eat the carbon. But when it comes to mincha, there's 2 things. So now you have You can understand that we're going to have some geschmacka questions. What if you do one out of the two? What happens? You only did one out of the two outside. Chayav. Rebbe Loza poitash. Yaakov is hasheni. Rebbe Loza is always consistent. They have to put everything onto the mizbeach. So if it's two things, you have to put a both. Chayav. According to everybody, even according to Rebbe Loza, if you put one inside the Beis Hamikdash, one outside of the Beis Hamikdash, you're chayav. That is consistent to what we said up until now. Even mentioned earlier. If there's 20 kizaysim, you put 10 inside, 10 outside, you're chayav. According to, you don't have to put everything outside. You just have to finish. Whatever you have left over, you have to put outside. And those two things are the bezichin, and they're full of frankincense. And here he does a zoom in. He can zoom in, zoom out. Now we're talking about these two. Every Shabbos, we have to burn these bezichin in order to eat the lechem. So he only brought one of them outside. Same question. Chayav. You have to be makriv both. But if you're makriv one inside and one outside, chayav. Because at the end of the day, everything went onto the mizbeach. Some inside, some outside. Boy, Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. Rabbi Yitzchak, how do you say Nafcha in English? Blacksmith. What happened was, you have to bring a koimetz, you have to bring a kmitza, and also the levina, the frankincense. There's two different things. While he's bringing the kmitza, he's thinking to himself, I want to eat half of the smincha. Because you have two things that are allowing you to eat. So maybe each one takes 50%, the Gemara is asking. Now, which 50%? Which 50%? Okay, eat 50%. Go ahead, eat 50% of this flour. You're going to start taking each grain of what are you going to do? So Rashi says very pashut. You hold yesh breira. Retroactively, I can decide this is the half that was mechaven on. You could do that. Akopanim, he asks, koimetz, you hear it's a geschmacka question. Koimetz maush yate kenegdo b'shirayim. As much as the kmitza is matter, how much is a kmitza matter? 50%, because I also have to do a levina, and a levina is another 50%. So the question is, mishra shari kalushi miklosh. Maybe this will help you. Do we have the same machlokes in the darim? Machlokes b'sham and b'silal, where naira murasa, a girl who's engaged, but she's a naira, she's 12, and she makes a neder. Who has to be made for the neder? Both. Husband and father. What if one of them is mefer? So did it weaken up the neder, or it actually took off 50% of the neder? Does each one have a 50% share in the neder, or a full 50? So he got rid of 50, and the other one has to get rid of the other 50%? Let's say she made a neder for 2 days. I'm just throwing it out. So the father got rid of 1 day. Now the husband has to be mad to the second day. Or no, each day becomes a little weaker, but it's still there in theory. Mishashari, Kalusha Miklash. Over here it uses the Lashon Mishashari. Over there to make its guys, the same idea. Or Kalusha Miklash becomes weak. Says Gemara, what are you talking about? Aliba the man. Aliba the Rebbe Meir, the Omar, Mifagim Mechatzi Mater. Rebbe Meir says that in order to make pigul when it comes to a mincha, you have to think the thought of pigul. What's pigul? I'm going to eat this mincha in 2 weeks from now. But I have to think that thought at both by the levina and also by the kmitza. I could do pigul on one of the two. So if I do pigul on a kmitza, it's good. Mr. Shari. So I was mamish, I knocked off half according to Remeir. Yeah, leave the Rabbanon, but according to Rabbanon, I can't do pigul unless I do both. Mr. Shari, but Miklosh Kolish. This I just thought when I was reading it, because the question was, Mr. Shari or Miklosh Kolish? Says Gemara, Ella, leave the Rebbe Lazar. So we have to say that the question is according to Rebbe Lazar. But wait a minute, Rebbe Lazar can Rabbanos relay. It's not a good question according to Rebbe Lazar. He holds like, Ella, leave the Rabbanon Dacha. So Rebbe Lazar is the one that says that you potter if you makriv the kmitza without a levina. So we're going to go according to Rabbanon that say you chayiv on a kmitza without a levina, right? In our Mishnah, you do half, you chayiv. Ella, leave the Rabbanon Dacha. My Mishra Shari. So since you're chayiv, if you just do a kmitza, so do we view the kmitza as 50%, a whole 50%, and the levina a whole 50%? So if you do one, so you knocked out 50%, so you could eat half of this carbon. Mishra Shari, a kolish miklash, it makes it weaker. Teiku. Says the Mishnah, Zorik mixas dam bachutz. What's mixas dam? Sometimes, not sometimes, you all remember this because we're at the end of the Masechta. What carbon do you have to apply blood on all four corners? Everybody together? Chatos. So what if you only did one corner outside? Hazari mixes dam bachutz. Chayav. You're chayav. So this is fascinating. This whole idea of Nisuch HaMayim says Rebbe Lazar it's only on Sukkos. You can't do Nisuch HaMayim on Chanukah. We're going to see in the Gemara. But it seems like Hamanasach Me'achag Bechag on Sukkos, Bachutz, outside, Chayav. Remember, after you do Zrikas Adam, you have the leftover of the blood. If you makriv that outside, you are Chayav. Omar Rava, Umoyde Rebbe Lazar Badomim. Rebbe Lazar agrees by blood. That what? By carbon chatos. If you do one Zrika outside, you're over. Why? Each Zrika is an independent entity. Yes, you have to do 4, but each one is 100% that one. The Sanyan, I'll prove it to you, Rebbe Lazar, Rebbe Shimon Oimrim. We're talking about the Zrika that we do on Yom Kippur inside. Achas v'shtayim, achas v'shalosh. Boom, he knocks over the whole blood. It's all spilled on the floor. Now what do? What do? Anybody remember? You shecht another one, and you continue where you are. So what does that mean? That means that whatever you did already is good. Each one is individual zrika. He says in the name of Menachem Yitfa. Rebbe Lazar b'Shittas Rebbe Kiva Rabbi Amora. Rebbe Lazar is talking about in his Rebbe's Shita Rebbe Kiva. The Omar Nisach Hamayim Deiraisa. We're going to see at the end. Everybody else is Deiraisa. To spill the water, to pour water on the Mizbeach, on Sukkos is in the Torah. The Sanya Rebbe Kiva Omer. It says Minchasa Unisacheha. A lot of people wonder sometimes it says Niska and then Usacheha. Why is Unusacheha? Unusacheha is plural. B'shnei Nisuchim HaKatz Mendaber. Because the Torah is actually referring to the water also. It's the Raisa. If it's in the Torah, so the water should be just like the wine. And just like wine, you need 3 lug. So the water should have to bring 3 lug. Rebbe Lazar seems to say that you don't need 3 lug. Even if you spill less than that, you're chayav. Another question. Just like wine is all year round, if you bring an oil and shalom, you have to bring wine. So too, if you pour water on your mizbeach in your house outside of Beis Hamikdash, you should be chayav all year round. But we saw the Mishnah said only on Sukkos. It says the Gemara Shtamitbei Hadam Rabasi Mamish missed Rabbi Menachem Yoitfa missed this. Domer Rabasi Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Nechoni Ish Bikas Beis Charton. There's 3 things that are halacha l'mishum Sinai. Eser netiyos. The halacha is that 30 days before Rosh Hashanah on Shemitah year, you're not allowed to plow anymore. 30 days before. But if there's 10 small little guys, little saplings, planted something like this, then you're permitted. Otherwise, they'll die. Okay, one halacha. Arava that you bring the aravas in the Beis Hamikdash like today. If Yoshi did this, it would be a whole matzah of this, and it would be shaking, people would be moving. But these are ravas that used to walk around the Mizbeach on Sukkos. V'nisach hamayim halacha l'bayishim Sinai. Everybody agrees this is d'oraisa. Came from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not a d'Rabbanan. So the question is is it 3 lug, or there's no shear at all? But at the end of the day, it's a d'oraisa. Rabboisai, have a wonderful day. A guten Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos at 8:30.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.